This video is going to show you how to focus more on the process and less on the outcome in order to achieve true joy and success. A lot of videos tell you why focusing on the process is good, but very few tell you how to do that. This video is going to tell you both. I'm Ross Jacobson, aka The Disciplined Rebel. This YouTube channel, as well as the Disciplined Rebel blog, are all about helping you build self-discipline. If you like what you see here, hit the like button, and if you are new, subscribe for more videos like this. Now let's do this. For this video, I'm going to divide things into 3 sections. First, I'm going to walk through why focusing on the process can be helpful. Second, I'm going to discuss the situations in which it is most important to focus on the process, and the times it makes sense to think about the outcome. And third, I'm going to talk about a 3-step method for how to focus on the process and not the outcome. Section 1. Why focusing more on the process can be helpful. Most people spend far too much time thinking about where they want to get in terms of their goals, and not nearly enough time on the specific steps it will take to reach them. For example, if you are studying, there are 2 ways to go about it. The first is the outcome-focused approach, which involves studying to reach a certain desired result, like getting a good grade in a class you are taking or doing well in an exam. The second is the process-focused approach, which involves focusing on the specific processes involved, such as taking notes as you are reading, doing practice problems, memorizing information, or simply paying close attention to the reading material itself. There are 4 reasons why focusing more on the process can get you better results. Reason number 1, it helps you concentrate on the task at hand. Imagine you are studying and are fully absorbed in what you are doing, not getting constantly distracted by thoughts like, I hope I do well in this test. When you're deeply focused on something, your performance improves substantially. Therefore, paying more attention to the process will help you get in that deeply focused mindset. Reason number 2, focusing on the process makes it easier to spot opportunities for improvement. As you focus on the process more, you become more aware of which specific components are going well and which are not. This increased awareness enables you to spot opportunities for improvement. If your mind keeps drifting to the end result, it won't be as easy for you to recall all the little details and how to adjust them. But if you're fully immersed in what you are doing, you will notice things you might not have been aware of otherwise. Reason number 3, focusing on the process makes pursuing your goal more enjoyable. If you focus on the process, you're more likely to find intrinsic rewards in whatever you are doing. Intrinsic rewards are benefits you receive in return for the work you do, which come from within. For instance, the satisfaction from listening to the sound of the guitar as you play, or the sense of accomplishment as you start to figure out a new computer program. When you are process-focused, you are paying closer attention to these kinds of things, and therefore are more likely to discover aspects of working towards your goal which you truly enjoy. Reason number 4, focusing on the process helps you stick to your goals. It does this in 2 ways. First, as you learn to find things intrinsically enjoyable about your pursuit, it'll make it easier for you to keep up with your goals, because you are more likely to stick with something you enjoy. Second, most goals can take a long time to accomplish. If you just focus on the outcome, you might get discouraged because you aren't achieving your goal quick enough. However, focusing on the process is much more encouraging. That is because you are focused on the small, individual components of your goal, and those little things are much more achievable in the short run. Section 2, when to focus on the process and when to focus on the outcome. To best explain this, I'm going to divide things up into 3 phases. Phase 1, the planning phase. This is the phase where you research what you need to do to accomplish your goal and plan out the specific steps required. In the planning phase, you want to focus less on the outcome and more on the process. When you first decide to pursue something, you usually have an outcome in mind. For example, your goal might be to learn how to cook, to run a marathon, or to start a business. It's totally fine to have these goals, and naturally, you are going to have to think about your end goal a little bit during the planning stage to figure out how to best achieve it. However, when you focus too much on the end goal, that can lead to vague, broad plans which aren't thought through fully. And it's harder to follow through when you don't have a clear vision in mind. But if your plan is more specific and process-focused, it will be easier to execute your plans. Phase 2, the execution phase. The execution phase is when you implement the steps needed to achieve your goal. For example, if your goal is to write a book, this is the phase after you've planned out your story and now are actually writing. The execution phase is where it is most important to focus on the process, not the end results. That is for 2 reasons. First, it improves performance. When you're executing a task, you want to be in the zone, deeply concentrating on executing the specific processes involved. Focusing on the outcome at this stage is just a distraction from the task at hand. Second, focusing on the process makes the activity more enjoyable. That's because focusing on the process helps you stay in the present moment, which reduces the anxiety and stress you get when you were lost in thought worrying about the end result. Also, when you pay attention to the process as you were doing it, you are more likely to discover things you like about it. Phase 3, the measurement phase. In the measurement phase, you assess your progress towards your goal and refine things if needed. At this stage, it helps to weigh your progress based on a mix of process and outcome. During the measurement phase, you have to consider the outcome because you need to determine how much progress you have made towards your goal. That way you can determine whether or not any adjustments are needed. But you also need to consider the process. That's because you need to pinpoint the exact areas that need improvement in order to enhance your performance in the future. Section 3, the 3-step method for how to focus on the process. The idea of this method is to focus less on the end results and more on the process itself by finding things you like about the process. To make it easier to follow along, I'm going to use studying as an example throughout. Keep in mind this method is primarily designed to help with the execution phase, which I just discussed, since that is the most critical area to focus on the process in. Step 1. Find something you like about the process. One of the biggest reasons it can be hard to focus on the process is that there are often negatives in the process that occupy your mind. With studying, there are a lot of potential negatives involved, including the intense concentration needed to read and retain information, the stress that occurs over whether we will do well in a class or on an exam, guilt over procrastinating and not having studied earlier, the pressure from society, family, and peers to do well, and in some cases, a dislike in the material. So how do you fix this? First, start by finding a morsel of something you like in the process. Even if it is an incredibly small component, that's okay. And keep in mind, this is just an exploratory phase, so no pressure to figure it out right away. When studying, there are also many potential positives. For example, the satisfaction of knowing you're acquiring new knowledge, the fascination of learning new or interesting material, and the feeling that you are accomplishing something productive. Keep working on this step until you found at least one element you like about whatever you were doing. Step 2. Concentrate on the aspect you like. Now that you've found something you like, start concentrating on that aspect whenever possible. You may want to practice this for a few days before moving on to Step 3. Step 3. When your mind drifts, go back to the aspects you like. Now, whenever your mind wanders and starts thinking about the outcome, or about aspects of the process you don't like, try to shift your attention back to thinking about the things you like. For example, if you think about the pressure to get a good grade and start getting stressed, shift your focus to just reading the material because you find some of it interesting, and take that pressure off of yourself. If you've ever tried meditating, the process is somewhat similar. When your mind drifts to thoughts, you return your attention back to your breathing. The same can apply here, only this time, you return to the aspects of the process that you like. Keep repeating these steps. As time goes on, you will start focusing more of your attention on the process and less of your attention on the outcome. And don't worry if it's not 100% perfect. Unless you're Neo from the Matrix, that probably isn't possible. Even going from 0% process focus to 50% process focus would be a huge achievement. Think about the things you like about the process as your anchors. They're something you'll return to and focus on whenever your mind starts worrying about the outcome, and when you are struggling to motivate yourself because of the negative aspects involved. If you sign up for my newsletter, you will get access to a free printable guide which goes into even more depth on how to focus on the process. It even includes an editable template for you to fill out to help you focus more on the process with your goals. That's it for now. I would really appreciate it if you liked this video. And if you're new, make sure to subscribe and tap the bell to get notified when new videos come out. Thanks for watching, and best of luck in your journey to build self-discipline.